PR Connections Radio presents Ethics Realty is a full-service real estate agency that provides a service for finding the ideal property for residential, commercial, and investor-centered clients. Whether you're a first-time buyer or a seasoned buyer or investor, they provide service to all and listen to understand your goals and needs. For more information about their wealth and investment-centered services, call 702-518-1606 or visit their website, ethicsrealty.net.
Hey, how's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the New Year's Day Marathon. It's actually the 4th annual New Year's Marathon here at prconnectionsradio.com, the voice of new media. My name is Guy Dawson, and I am the founder of the network as well as the host for today. It's been an exciting experience to have had the opportunity to watch some amazing shows throughout the day today. Again, these marathons are just outstanding opportunities for us to introduce you all to some of the amazing shows that we have on our network. And I hope you've been enjoying the shows that we've been airing. PR Connections is a network that was really designed to help people out there who have great themes that they want to share with the world, to be a part of a community that supports your success. And through the 16 podcasts that we have on our network, we have such a wide variety of concepts and ideas that are shared. The technology just keeps getting better and better and better, which enables us to give you more professional, quality-oriented shows. When I look back on 2020, when I first began the development of this network, and just the increases in the technology that is available to help you to have a successful podcast, it is just astronomical, the growth, and I'm just looking forward in the future to the things that are going to be created that will continue to enable us to educate you through these fantastic podcasts. So we've got a host of podcasts to go. We're now in the second half of this marathon. We're going to start out with another good friend of mine. Her name is Evelyn Pacheco, and she has a podcast called Evelyn's Roundtable. She does a lot of great interviews with community leaders in different sectors. She's been on the network for a couple of years and has made great contributions to our platform and really inform people about topics maybe that they don't know a lot about. Love her enthusiasm and commitment to community. So we'll get this party started with Evelyn's Roundtable here at prconnectionsradio.com.
PR Connections Radio presents Ethics Realty is a full-service real estate agency that provides a service for finding the ideal property for residential, commercial, and investor-centered clients. Whether you're a first-time buyer or a seasoned buyer or investor, they provide service to all and listen to understand your goals and needs. For more information about their wealth and investment-centered services, call 702-518-1606 or visit their website, ethicsrealty.net.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Evelyn's Roundtable. This podcast highlights a host of relevant topics. Our conversations share voices of women of color, Black women veterans and veterans, allies, candidates, and elected officials, entrepreneurs, teachers, students, and others. We also explore important issues and challenges such as grassroots leadership, job training, homelessness, and mental health advocacy, accountability, male inclusion, and civics. Our mission statement is to empower all women, you hear me? All women to hold hands as we rise. Well, hello. Oh my gosh, y'all. Look who we're sitting in front of right now. Becky Harris, thank you so much for being on here today. And I really appreciate you coming on here. when we met about a month or so, something like that. And I was like, well, wait a minute. She's doing some good stuff out here. And I really think it's important for, especially in this time, for everybody, especially women, to have a voice. And in Nevada is what we care about. Everybody says, oh, what is happening in DC? Well, we kind of care about that, but we care about what's happening right here. And we need to fix what's happening right here. So I just thank you again for coming on, and thank everybody that's listening today to us for coming on here to listen to us and all the good things we're going to talk about. So Vicki, could you please let us know a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, my husband and I have lived in Las Vegas for decades. We came here right out of the military, where he was in the Army. We came from Fort Irwin, California, the National Training Center. That was quite an experience to live there and see the sacrifices that are made on our behalf to keep us safe. He's a dentist, and so he is also an entrepreneur and started a dental practice here in Las Vegas. We raised our children here, and now we have grandchildren who have been born and are being raised here. So we love Nevada. Las Vegas in particular has been so good to us, and we've been very, very happy here.
Wow. And something which is interesting, because I didn't know that her husband is a veteran, and that's beautiful. And I'm like, you need to be talking about that. And because, sometimes people say, oh, thank you for your service. You're like, here we go again, right? Thank you for your service. But you lived it, of it. And it's different. Then you'll hear, oh, well, my husband is this, or my brother, and you're like, and just the tone and the way they're saying it, you're thinking, bullshit. I'm just gonna say it, y'all. I'm gonna call it like it is, y'all. And that's not cool either. And you please talk more about that, about living the life of a wife of a veteran, because again, not everyone is valuing, right? And you are, and I wish you would really tell more people about this and bring this out and everything. So can you tell a little bit about the things that you went through, some of your feelings or things you had to face?
Yeah, so we entered the military right out of graduate school, and we loved it. I mean, I would love to still be in the military, and I'll get to why we're not in just a minute, but we went from Virginia, where my husband was in graduate school to become a dentist, to Fort Campbell, Kentucky, which is when I think of the 4 forward operating bases in the United States, where they can be literally anywhere in the world in 24 hours. It's a massive, massive military base, and it sprawls out across Tennessee and across Kentucky. And because of his medical training and the needs of the base, we had to be within 15 minutes of the base at all times, because he was constantly being called in to assist with emergencies and other things like that. And he was doing some advanced training that you can only get in the military. And we're really, really grateful for that training. After he finished that program, we moved to Fort Irwin, California, to the National Training Center, where we completed the rest of his military service. And I loved it, because we got to actually live on base at that military installation, and the camaraderie among the women. It's the women who run the families, and when you're in the military, and to join forces with my military sisters in my neighborhood was an amazing thing. And as a neighborhood, we would come together, and one of us would be making dinner, a couple of us would be shepherding around the kids, others would be cleaning up living rooms, so that when the husbands came home after a big long day, everything was ready to go. And because we were the National Training Center, there were rotations. And so every 2 weeks, most of the men in the military base would be sleeping in their Humvees in the desert, where they would literally be 5 miles from home, but cooking MREs on their engine block as they're out engaging in these skill-based exercises to help train people to learn how to fight in the desert. And that was quite a compelling thing to see husbands sacrifice to be away from their families when they could literally be home in minutes, but instead they're part of an exercise and they're being treated those exercises. And so we would shut down the neighborhoods, and big wheels and bicycles and beach chairs would just line the sidewalks, and the kids would just have full reign of the neighborhoods for the time when the dads were gone. And it was at that time that I really got a taste of the significant resources, or the significant resources that women offer to each other, as well as the significant sacrifices that our armed services provide. You know, there was a saying on post, you know, we'll live like you won't, so that you can be free.
Oh,
right?
yes. Yes, 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 yes. Yeah.
And we saw that. My husband didn't actually go into combat, but we had friends who did, and we're grateful for the experiences and the challenges that they were willing to accept to go and serve our country to keep us safe, and so that we could enjoy the freedoms that we have. And some of them come back with the battle scars, the emotional and psychological scars, as well as the physical scars. And I think unless you truly have an opportunity to be up close and personal to those profound sacrifices that are being made on our behalves, it's sometimes difficult to really personalize what other people are doing on our behalf, right? Those children who gladly sacrifice time with their dads so that you and I can pursue the things that we want to here and be safe and come home to a warm house and, you know, make dinner or run through a drive-through, while so many of our armed services are living in tents and, you know, structured housing that's not warm or well air conditioned, where they're getting very little sleep, where they're constantly on call, where their meals are not always the type of meal that they would necessarily want to have, where they're willing to be dirty and live in challenging circumstances so that you and I can put laundry in the washing machine at 11 o'clock at night.
Isn't that something when you experience it and I think because I know what you're talking about, and when I'm being disrespected, it's really hard for me to just sit there and take it. Sometimes I'm like, how dare you talk to me like that, you know? And there's been a lot of situations where I had to just walk away, and then you have others that are around it and seeing you get disrespected, and they just kind of go, oh, whatever. And they serve too. And I'm thinking, wow, you're supposed to have my six, regardless of what the situation is. Yeah, you might be friends with that person or whatever, but you still should have kind of like, you know, been there with me to say, hey, you know, why are you talking to Evelyn like that? Hey, we shouldn't be, you know, or even in private if you took that person aside. But I've been finding too many situations where that's not even happening. And it's just like, wow. So now I'm like, well, wait a minute. I'm the first Black woman to be commander of American Legion Post 51. Why am I folding? Why am I putting my head down when you're talking bad or disrespecting me? No, I need to hold my head up high and be like, okay, whatever.
Well, and I think there's something really profound. It is a wonderful thing when people come up and say, thank you for your service. I think it's a profound thing when you can walk up to somebody that you know has served in the military or is currently serving in the military and say, I know.
Whole different thing, right? Whole different thing. We just had, just the past weekend, I made sure 3 women in my post got the Quilts of Valor. And I felt so good when I was able to do that for them. And one is still currently serving. And I just was like, oh my gosh, you know, and doing something like that, I felt so good. it just like, hey, I see you. I recognize you.
And that's an incredible thing for any soldier to receive that award. But what a wonderful, visible reminder for women that they matter and that their sacrifices are being recognized and that they're being elevated, because, you know, the military is still male dominated and a lot of the leadership is still male. But over time, as more young ladies decide that there's benefit for them to serving in the military, and as their interests in that kind of service increase, we're going to begin to see more equity in the leadership. And it's just a wonderful thing for these trailblazers, right? These women who are blazing a path, and a difficult path, so that those who follow can really reap the benefits of their sacrifices.
Yes. And speaking of sacrifices, you are running. Oh my gosh. Talk about sacrifices. Can you give us some info on, okay, when are you planning on doing all this, and why and where?
So I'm not a stranger to public service. I served as a state senator, and I've also been the chair of the Nevada Gaming Control Board. So public service is in my heart. It's in my soul. I stayed out of it for quite a while. And then I just noticed that our community needs somebody who's going to advocate for them and stand up for the things that we need, like community gathering places, better amenities like roads, and the ability for proper drainage to go in with projects, and people that are willing to listen to the community and the neighborhood, somebody who is willing to find that right balance between growth and development and the needs of the community. And I decided, if not me, who?
Right.
And I just decided it should be me. I should step up and really provide that leadership like I have in the past. My path to the county commission actually started all the way back in 1990, if you can believe it.
Wow. Okay. So tell them what seat that you're going to run for.
So I'm going to run for District F.
Okay.
And the reason that I say that my path to this election started in 1990 is because when I was in law school, I took a class called Real Estate Development. And as part of that class, we had to pick a project, and we had to figure out the financing. We had to figure out what permits were needed, and we had to put it together, and we actually had to present it to a mock county commission for our grade. And
oh, wow.
I loved it. I was hooked. Yeah, I was absolutely hooked. I loved that. It was my favorite class in law school. And then when I moved to Las Vegas, we lived in a really quickly developing community that needed somebody who had the skill set to bring the community together and present neighborhood concerns before the Clark County Commission. And because of my experience in law school, I became that community advocate. And we had some uses where we worked with developers to find better places than in the middle of our neighborhood to put their businesses. And so I kind of began to get this reputation as a community advocate. And that's really what launched me into running for elected office. Wow. So as part of these county commission hearings that I would represent my neighborhood on, I really kind of began to think, you know, I would really like to be part of this conversation, part of deciding how Clark County should grow, being dynamic and making sure that neighbors' concerns are being listened to, and finding that compromise with developers, recognizing that growth and development is here to stay, that we've got to find some kind of a balance, because growth and development are good for our economy. They're what help provide good paying jobs. They're what provide the amenities that we come to rely on as a community. And I wanted to be part of that conversation. And so that's another reason that I stepped up. The third reason that I stepped up is because I'm a nonpartisan. 47% of the people in my district are either nonpartisan or other party affiliations. And I think for the first time, those voters actually have a visible reminder that there is somebody that's willing to represent them.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Hell yes. Yeah, I swore again, y'all. Yeah, I did. Hell yes. And so can you tell them the area of your commissioner seat? Is that for those that don't know the location and where it's at?
Yeah, so we're the southwest side of the valley. So we start all the way up by Charleston and kind of take that westernmost tip as we're headed south. We jump over to Henderson, where the M Casino is, and then continue all the way down to the state line. And then we've got Good Springs and Blue Diamond, Sloan, and some other rural communities that are part of the district as well. So we have this wonderful, rich diversity of rural and urban. We can do everything in my commission district that I live in, from gamble at a casino to go to the water park, to rock hounding in Good Springs, Nevada, to doing to seeing the burros in Blue Diamond. We just really have a lot to offer from Commission District F.
Yes, you do. And so I got two questions for you. So even though it might not be in your area or anything like that, would you help with supporting women veterans? If I'm not saying to go in there and fight, but I'm saying because housing is a big thing for women veterans right now. Job training is a big thing for women veterans right now. And even sexual harassment or harassment is a big thing, not just for women veterans, but it's for across the board in trades too. So could I count on you to, I'm not saying, do things that illegal things. I'm not saying that, but would you, if I pick the phone and say, Becky, can you support us, or can you help with the paper or statements, or would you be willing, if it was, like I said, not illegal stuff, but things that are, would you be willing to help us?
100%. And yes, 100%. I actually have a record of doing that already. So it's just consistent with who I am. When I was chair of the Gaming Control Board, we were looking at sexual harassment prevention policy that we were trying to get passed through the commission. And you can Google that and find out all about that. So I have a history of trying to work on that issue. As the chair of the Gaming Control Board, when I was in the legislature, I co-signed onto and helped shepherd bills with regard to how sexual abuse survivors are treated and what their reporting requirements and deadlines could be. We looked at expanding those out so that anybody, but women in particular, who experience those kinds of tragedies in their childhood had enough time to grow, develop, and become empowered to be able to start to deal with some of those things that happen to them early in life. So that's the sexual harassment piece. With regard to the economic development and career advancement for women, I do that in my day job now. So I work in providing leadership upskilling opportunities and programs through UNLV for women and vulnerable populations. So we have 3 different classes. One's called Success at Work, which is an entry-level program for people who are new to the workforce, who are returning to the workforce, or maybe are underemployed and need to kind of grow out some basic skills as an employee. We have Dream Academy, which is for the management level, anybody that's looking to continue that career progression and go into management. It's a week-long series of programming for that. And then for women who are high performing, who are hoping to go to the C-suite or to boards, so it's more of an executive level of education, we have a program called Women Up. And we are seeing just tremendous success from these programs for women and those who are from vulnerable populations. It's just been really tremendous to see the impact that we're having on the Nevada workforce, because we really want all of our people to have great jobs. So women in particular, I learned during the time I was chair of the Nevada Gaming Control Board, a really interesting fact. Nevada is one of the states that leads single family households led by women, right? So if a woman is running the household and she's the sole employed entity in that household and has to provide for parents and children, or maybe a disabled spouse or whatever it is, we need good jobs for women who can be able to work just one job and not 3 jobs. They need to be home to provide support and care for their families. So
no, wow.
Yes, I'm happy to help on those issues because they're already issues that I love and deal with.
I mean, that's just beautiful because those are all the things that I'm involved in too, helping women to get into the unions and to have good jobs. And by helping these women that are underserved, unemployed, or going through domestic situations, or maybe the husband's working, and if she can work, and that would help with the household, right? And you're right. I've been saying that too, it's about 90% women are head of household in this state. And it's time, everybody. It's time to start helping with things like that, not being the gatekeeper or, so Nevada Women Trades, I think, should have a billboard on, hey, we help women, we do this, or even about us helping veteran women with housing and things that you talked about. And it's just like, wow, I've been doing Nevada Women Trades 7 years now. And it's just interesting that they're still catching on to what I'm doing. I still get phone calls on, oh, I didn't know you were even here. And I didn't know that you were doing this to help women. Or I'll get, well, what is trades? And I didn't know that. And I didn't know you can make that money. Or those that are in jails or in prisons. Oh, well, I didn't know that if I had a background that I still could get into the trades and take care of and then not go back to jail. Right? Mm-hmm. Wow. Oh my gosh, I can't wait. Because, we going to do some good things. We're going to do some good things out here. Is there anything else that you need to give your email or your website or any of that? Can you give that, please?
I'm happy to. And actually, I'm going to start with my cell phone. So my cell phone number is 702-324-0404. You can email me at Becky, that's BECKY, Becky at BeckyHarrisNV.com. Website is elect Becky.
I think it cut out a little bit. Can you do that one more time? The elect.
Certainly. Phone number, cell phone, 702-324-0404. Email, Becky, BECKY, at BeckyHarrisNV.com. Website, electbeckyharris.com.
Oh my gosh. This was so beautiful. And thank you for coming on here and doing this for all of us. It's not just for you. This is for all of us, everybody. And also remind everybody that to be able to go on and check out Evelyn's Roundtable, and you'll be able to find Becky Harris on there, and probably, I don't know, we're going to be probably about 1:00 or something on New Year's Day. This will be on here, and I just love everybody. And also every first and third Wednesday of the month, Evelyn's Roundtable and we're live streamed, and you can go on my website at www.nevada, spelled out, WIT.org. And again, do you have any last words that you want to give our audience and why they're listening and paying attention to you?
Well, Evelyn, I want you to remember that you are a trailblazer, that you are clearing pathways for other women, and that there are going to be plenty to follow. And together, we're going to be able to make a difference.
Oh, hell yeah. We finna do this, y'all. We finna do this. And thank you for who you are and what you stand for, because I know it's not easy. I wish all the women would stand in there and we all be in the dirt, right? Sloughing and doing all that. And I get it. This is not for every woman, but the women that are in the trenches and the women that are standing next to us, please, all of you, Let's get in them trenches. Let's pull our bootstraps up, as my great grandma said, pull your underwear up to your chin, and let's get the work done and get this done. It's important. And 2026 is the year for the women. It is. It's our time, everybody. It really is. And again, thank you so much. And we're going to have you back on here again, because we want to know all the successes that are going to happen after November. So we want to know what you're doing, what you're going to do, and all of that. And again, everybody, for listening in, I thank you all for listening to Evelyn's Roundtable. And again, the mission statement is to empower all women, to empower all women to hold hands as we rise.
This podcast is brought to you by Envision U. Envision U has discovered how to impact spirit, body, and soul with spray technology in just 30 seconds. With Envision U, you can achieve optimal health and start living the life you have always dreamed of. Use the promo code envisinu.com/VernDix to take control of your health naturally. PR Connections Radio thanks you for watching this podcast. Check out more episodes of this show and our others at prconnectionsradio.com.
All right, welcome everyone back to the marathon for prconnectionsradio.com, the voice of new media on New Year's Day. This is the 4th edition of this marathon. I hope you enjoyed Evelyn's Roundtable and the insight that she and her guest provided. Again, if you want to tune into more episodes of Evelyn's Roundtable, please go to our website, prconnectionsradio.com, or you can use the QR code that is on the screen to take you directly to our website. And as I've been talking about all day long, is you can go over to prconnectionsradio.com and binge watch all the different podcasts on our networks. On our network, there are hours and hours and hours of fantastic podcasts that you can watch on our website. Again, that is prconnectionsradio.com. The next podcast that we will showcase is presented to you by Lisa Vasquez. It is called Liberating Menopause, and it is a relatively new show on our network that has been having a powerful impact on the lives of men and women alike through the information that Lisa has been providing. Lisa, welcome to the marathon.
Hi, Guy. Hello. Happy New Year's to the PR Connections team, the host, the guest, and you, Guy. Congratulations, celebrating your 4th marathon. How wonderful is that? I mean, the new media. I mean, this is just like incredible. And I am so grateful because the way the platform connects us across cities. I mean, I went to New Zealand. I went to Trinidad and Tobago. I mean, taking me to these other countries and cities is just, it's just crazy to be able to send our message out to reach homes, workplaces, countries. I mean, it's a real gift. And, you know, to begin this year with a message that that can travel so far through 16 different voices. And there's something in there for someone everywhere. You know, it's amazing. So it's really great. Thank you.
Yes, and you have a topic that is so relevant to the lives of all of us. You know, women are the ones who actually experience menopause. However, as I had mentioned before, being a man and having been in the lives of women who are experiencing everything that leads up to menopause, watching your podcast has been a real eye-opener on a lot of levels. And I'm sure there are other men out there who have gotten perspectives on this that they were not aware of. And I think that that's fantastic. I know that this is primarily a woman's issue, but being a man kind of in the woman's sphere, it's been great to learn more from you.
And for sure, because fueling that energy that surrounds these women by the male partners, it's just incredible that when they can feel and understand this, because we are all a walking hormone. It's just the reactions that we have are different from men. And so, but understanding it all, it's just such a great communication because it's a different language. And, I mean, lots of times men know, oh no, there's her mood, or there's this, there's that, but they don't look at it as there's that, hormonal change that's taking place. It's more not severe, but because it's misunderstood. You know what I mean? So they don't know how to title it, and they don't know, you know what I mean? But actually it's really, oh no, she's about to get her new, she's like being at the gas pump. She's refueling, new energies coming, new power. That's how it should be seen, not this dull light on it. Oh no, because that old stuff comes out and the new stuff comes in as we change every day, all day long. So it's great.
Yeah, the education is so important, Lisa, and I don't want to take up any more of your time. Please welcome Lisa Vasquez with Liberating Menopause as a part of the PR Connections Marathon. Go get them, Lisa.
Thank you so much. Today it's new for everyone, right? We are all starting at zero. And I mean, as far as how we nourish ourselves, the choices we're about to make, today is that day, because we just had so much fun in these last 2 weeks. And, and I'm sure, a lot of people went haywire, just grabbing, taking, doing things. And, a lot of, dis-ease is probably happening right now as you start to release all those changes. But the fun facts about, making new choices, turning in on channels in your life that are going to tune you into you, because that's one thing we've never really been taught about. We've never been taught how to live in our bodies as they're structured. We don't look at the mechanisms of what's taking place. And this is where I come in as a retired radiology tech, studying in mammography, looking through the lens of radiology all the time. This is all I've seen. I was only able to watch stomach exams and, kidney exams, all these different things. So to learn the mechanics, like a mechanic of a body, you can't unsee or unknow what you know. And so never really looking on the outside is where, in a layman's terms, this is how we see ourselves. We look here to try to fix things when it's all in the internal connections. This is the whole key to our whole life. It's all inside. And, when I talk about women in the workplace, and just women, because, we have all those self-starters, women who don't really connect socially in office chats and girl conversations because they're starting up their businesses, they're solo entrepreneurs, they're at home in a virtual community in themselves, and reaching out, having these girl conversations, sharing in this chemistry defaults that hit us all. Sometimes we lack that. And that's why it's so exciting for me to be able to bring this conversation, because this is one thing that, corporate life, no one prepares us for, right? I mean, even institutes and research that have been watching women in the workplace for years have never put this on the list. We have a different kind of breakdown because, of course, as women, we are different, right? So by bringing this education and teaching and bringing the awareness of preparations for the body and what it needs, because it really does send out whispers, and the slow leaks that can build up and really, pop on the road is the challenge that women have, because suddenly what happened? What is my body doing? They feel betrayed by it. These challenges that our body sends us, we never seen coming, and we never did. The thing about me is I was able to see this and watch it in action because of the women that I had the environment and surroundings by, who were educating me through their disconnection in health, their imbalances, their struggles in life. Once I had interviewed them with a history sheet, it's like that that history sheet was the vault that just unlocked so much. Thing is, I only had 15, 20 minutes with these women, but the conversation just exploded. I mean, from one thing, if I asked them, when was their menopause, or, they'll start telling me all about it, or, the pregnancies they had, they'll tell me about the losses. There was so much to learn on this journey that the common woman doesn't get to hear all the time unless she's in her tribe surroundings, her friends, things like that. But again, still, if it's a layman conversation, the whole educational part of only can be explained by symptoms and what's happening. And then unfortunately, they come back saying they went to the doctor and he said, I'm fine. And they're asking their girlfriends, look at me, do I look fine? And, things like that. So by bringing this education, bringing this awareness, because the workplace, we have a long way to go to get this in there and really understand. But with the medical system going into a lot of transitions, changing, I just recently went and had an appointment not too long ago because me, as I'm transitioning into Medicare, where, nobody prepared you for that. Nobody told you, hey, make sure that you look at all these choices. And I mean, when you're in health insurance and work, they pretty much have that standard package. There's usually 3 to pick from, right? They usually contain things, and unless you really want something specific, that's when you're going to inquire and say, hey, what about if I want to get pregnant this year? What, insurance should I have? Things like that. But when it comes to Medicare, it's a whole different ball game, because there's big choices you have to make, because that's going to be embedded in you for the rest of your life. These are those choices from Medicare, right? Sometimes it's hard to change authorizations, but my point is, so I went to go meet a new doctor, and I, during this exam and everything, I didn't have instructions. I wasn't, it's a great medical place, but the guest and welcoming wasn't explanatory for me as a new person. Now, being in the medical system, we come in because we know too much sometimes, right? So there's a lot of things we expect because of the customer service and the customer care we give. So when we're not getting that and we see it differently, we're like, wow, they didn't explain. They didn't say how I'm supposed to receive my results. What do I do? I had something I wanted to request to be ordered. How do I, process this? So there was a lot of little tangles in there. So here it is 2 weeks later now, and I hadn't heard from them from my exam and waiting on my results. And so, I called them up and let them know, I haven't heard from you. I didn't know what's the process. So do I need to make another appointment to see the doctor? What happens? And then they told me that everything was fine, and like futuristically, if they don't call me, that means everything's okay in the future. This is how they wanted me to understand that process. And I was just like really appalled. I was really shocked because too many mistakes, again, depending on what industry you're in, what happens behind closed doors. Those back little lines that weren't included in that report, or these things. Well, in this conversation, when she told me that I should just expect that everything is fine, I almost fell out, because that doesn't necessarily mean that. To me, that meant that you never even looked at them. How do I even know you've seen them and are acknowledged? In our medical system today, a lot of things fall in the cracks. And sometimes, the fax doesn't come over, this doesn't get there. Somebody forgot to follow up and pull that report. Things happen. So, I had to bring that to their attention and say, I understand that this is somehow logical to you, but not for me, so in the future. And then she told me, well, if you didn't hear from us in the next 2 weeks, then, you call us. And I was like, oh, okay. That sounds a little better. But again, because I know and understand these things, some other person might have just accepted that answer and moved on and said, oh, good. Okay. Next time I won't bother you, but no, that's not the point. And that's not the way that we need to approach this, because the system has changed and it's come into well, as you know, it's become more offensive than helpful because sometimes you can't get in. They only give you so much time. The business is rising in business and not so much in that care that we're looking for, that we were so conditioned to reach for, to find answers. And now if you don't have your agenda ready and if you don't have your questions ready, you're going to walk in there, and because their agenda is ready, meeting you, as I said, I was a new patient. I even mentioned something that I'm on, and she said, "Oh, really?" And I thought to myself, because I had to imagine, obviously you didn't read my full history, because for this doctor that I should be seeing, this is something that should have been a top part of that list that she should have recognized, and she didn't, because then she looked at me, "Oh, really? What? And who, with who, or whatever?" And so then I gave her those answers, but the point is how she shocked me when she said, "Oh, really? We were ending the appointment." She was already almost saying goodbye. And when I mentioned that, I was like really shocked. So then I knew somehow something slipped out there too, So again, being the person and the medical person that I am, questions are always, never a dumb question. A lot of people are shameful to ask questions, to bring this to them. They don't know how to approach it. And this is why, if that agenda is not prepared when you walk in, they're going to tell you everything and you're going to walk out baffled and have your list. And now you got to wait another 6 months or whenever you can get back enrolled to catch that doctor again. So being prepared and aware, that's what my whole mission is, making sure that, these tiny signals we overlook and languages, because this is a new language and we really have to understand it and really care and be aware of ourselves. But most importantly is fueling with the correct energy that's for our engine. We all know what kind of engine we run. We know if we're sporty, we know if we're active, we know if we're in our 6th decade and we want to keep running. I haven't mentioned, but recently I actually joined a great team called the Vegas Golden Gals. This is a senior team, pom-poms with the purpose. And I am so excited because for my age group and for who I am today, to be building cognitive and physical togetherness with movement, with numbers, with structures, with women who are developing and growing on this same lane, who are, oh gosh, when you see the harmony in their dancing, I'm looking forward to my big day when I can present just as they do. But to just be in this circle today, it's like, again, being in a teenage volleyball team. Wow, you can't believe you made it on the team and how cool it is. You're hanging out with your girlfriends and this and that, and you learn and grow from there. Well, that's how this is, being with the Vegas Golden Gals. And I hope to bring them on the podcast individually so we can talk about things, because they're golden. They really are, these gals. I mean, we're all golden, but this kind of attitude, because the ageless beauty has changed. We're not going into the breakdowns anymore. We're refueling for that energy. And this is what I was saying about that nourishment and how we carry ourselves, the choices we make today. Even if you made resolutions in the past, I don't like to really use that word so much because it doesn't have the power. It loses it somewhere along the next 31 days, So it's really that journaling, that structure, the marathon, the notes that you want to prepare, because we are all on a life marathon, right? We are all being challenged. We all have different goals and dreams maybe that we're preparing for on the exit out of the workplace, because I also bring up the fact that, this is only a part of your life. And once that title and once that badge is gone, if there was nothing else prepared, and sometimes that can just happen suddenly, where do you find yourself? And, how do you replant yourself to grow into something new? And by planting yourself now, by nourishing yourself, bringing in that great sleep, getting movement in that body, really prioritizing yourself self first, because it's hard to pour into anybody else if we're running on an empty tank. So by giving ourselves, feeding the mindset, this is why I recently don't so much use the word of the menopause, because it's a whole cycle inside. It's a menstrual cycle to menopause. It's that whole passage. But it's the hormone chemistry, and it's what I call the hormone potluck, because it's what we're putting in there. And this is as we're developing. This is starting at that menstrual cycle. We're young. We're eating all the processed foods. We're at school. We're grabbing potato chips. We're doing that. We don't know yet, but as you start to grow, now you're in your 20s. Now you're at work. You have a career. Things are changing because you have a different kind of stress level. Now you're, so by knowing that some of the food can be aggravating on top of the stress that you're feeling is because of the nourishment that you feel is feeding you, but it's actually empty calories. There's nothing in it that's providing the growth that the body needs. So in this next season of Liberating Menopause, we're going to be talking about, eating your age, because that stage and phase is so important. You have to be nourished. And again, it's just the car, 1967 car can come out in 2026 and still look hot, roaring its engine, oil, everything is generating through it because of how clean it was kept, of the things that were put into it, the shininess it kept on the outside, the way the lights are bright. This is who we want to be. We want to see, sometimes we notice and know that suddenly we're dragging down and there's a pulling on us and we can't quite understand it. But a lot of times in women, it could be a hormone shift. And by learning the education of how this works and the connections it has in your surrounding environments, because you have to understand women are everywhere, right? So they're all going through hormonal changes, and we sometimes look at it as a big indifference when really it could be just change that's happening at that moment. As I developed through my lifestyle in my workplace, in my career, I was learning from women. So the things and choices I was making as I would walk past my younger employee associates, I would just see the development of a lot of disease building up because they didn't know. I can see the things that they're eating. I can see the destruction that's happening. And then if they see me pulling out some of my food and I'm making this quick spinach with tofu or something like that, I'm looking crazy, right? Because I didn't run across the street and go catch that, quick grill burr or what have you, that, is more toxic than really nourishing. So this is what I'm saying, because we're on the quick. We really want things, but in women, and depending how we want to take this car ride and how we want to break it out of that garage in the future and really shine and be bright, it all starts by understanding that it begins now as we change and regroup and get ready to spring up, because this fall back that we're in right now is only for a moment again. It's all covered up under the snow and everything, but the beauty is all there once we release all this and start planting this garden in ourselves instead of thinking of it as a dumpster. We can't be doing that. We need the water for nourishment. We need to have clean water in our bodies when we go to sleep. We don't want to be sleeping in sluggish, polluted water, and this is what happens sometimes because people don't like to drink water. It's really hard when people don't like to drink water because they don't understand the strain and what happens inside the body and how it has to leach off other things that need it. And especially hair. Hair is the last thing that's going to get it if the body's being deprived, because there's other things that are more important. So sometimes, we have the hairstyles that just won't style anymore because they're so limp. And what's happening here, there's so many things that by just nourishing the small things, the sleep, the hydration, the movement in the body, the mindset building, sitting out first thing in the morning to get that D3 from that sunrise, right? That's the best time, having that mental moment, a mindset, to learn and respond instead of to react, because that's another thing, that we have crazy hormones that are like wild mustangs. And so, as the author of Girl in the Red, your hormones are showing, the idea was to bring that self-confidence by understanding if we can control the mustangs and not let them run us wherever wild they want to take us into the fields. We need to direct it, and that's what our hormones are. We need to know what's going into cooking that pot slow cooker, because it's all building up in us year after year. And then comes the new year, when we can restock, review what we've done, see how we're feeling, and look to the future of what we're looking for to bring in something more celebratory in our lives on a daily basis. Because it doesn't just need to be a festive feast time of the year. We should be celebrated in ourselves, with our self-love and our self-care on a daily basis, because that's what really brings that peace and joy and that glow out, that really brings you out, that authentic you. So I'm really excited to have been here today on this live marathon, because again, with all the different voices you get to hear, something will touch you in any one of these conversations on the podcast on prconnectionsradio.com. And it all starts today at 0. So little step-by-steps, journaling, monitoring yourself, thinking about some of the, even if you had some stomach upsets, things that changed last year that really kind of took you down, think about what that was, what led into it, so that you don't fall into the food trap again. The sugar dragon's always looking for you. So again, monitoring those choices of how you process this process of your life by correctly giving good input into this whole system of yours, so that the output is going to bring you everything you want in this new life that you're headed for. Because again, we're only here at work through these passages. It doesn't last forever. When that badge and title comes off, the dependency of those checks and that lifestyle is gone, and you have a new way of living and surviving. And it's going to be so much fun and beautiful when you have the process in a plan, preparation, because opportunity is waiting for you at the other end. So until I see you again next week, everyone, Happy New Year. And peace on earth to everybody, and take care. Thank you.
Very well done, Lisa. I love the perspectives on so many different things. Of course, specific things relating to what your overall theme is, which is menopause, but also about taking better care of yourself and how important it is to eat the right foods and get your rest. And these are things that will enable you to have a healthier life as you age. It's something you don't necessarily, as you mentioned, think about when you're a younger person, but when you start to age, you you begin to recognize that some of the choices that you've made in the past influence the way that you feel as you age. I could really identify with that.
Right? So we want to grow younger. That's the new media of life, is to grow younger. Because we've already seen, how destructive older can become biologically and chronologically. So if we can structure the biological side of our clocks into growing younger chronologically, we have the great roads ahead of us. Thank you so much, Guy. Thank you.
Fantastic. One more time, Lisa, how can they find your show? When do you air?
You can view me at 5 a.m. on Wednesday mornings. I love that wake-up call, because it all starts in the morning before everyone touches the earth and starts to bring in, other thoughts. I want to bring that joy and peace and health and happiness. Thank you.
All right. And you can also, of course, go over to prconnectionsradio.com to check out past podcast of Liberating Menopause, as well as I've been talking about all day, the streaming platforms. Spotify is one of the big ones, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Apple Podcast, and many more. You can listen to Liberating Menopause there.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right. Happy New Year, Lisa. All right, just a couple of more shows for this marathon in 2026. Wow, it's really weird to be saying 2026 as we have gotten a new year started. I want to bring on Dana Wall Oakley with Dana Does Voices. Dana, welcome to the show. You have to unmute yourself.
I saw that I was muted there. Hi there. How's it going?
I'm wonderful. I just discovered that I couldn't unmute you. So that's interesting. I was trying to unmute you and it wouldn't let me do it.
That is interesting. I think if you mute a guest, you can unmute them. But if they mute themselves,
right,
you have to try to get their attention somehow.
And the reason why we're talking about this audience is because along with being the host of Dana Does Voices, Dana Wall Oakley is also the Chief Operations Officer for the PR Connections Radio Network. She's the woman behind the scenes that is making so much of this happen. There's a lot that goes into managing 16 podcasts. Is that correct? I've been bragging all day about the fact that we now have 16 podcasts on the network. And that is not an easy thing to do, to manage that many shows.
Spreadsheets, guys, spreadsheets.
Yes. Yes, Dana is brilliant.
Organized.
She's absolutely
you have to be organized. And we use can I say the word? We use Trello as a project management program, and it really keeps everybody on track with what's due and when, and check marking when things are finished. I really believe that has helped us stay organized in keeping 16 podcasts, including my own and yours, running as smoothly as they can.
We're always looking for opportunities for new podcasts on the network. Yes. I know we have an audacious goal of eventually getting up to 25 podcasts.
25 by the end of the year,
goal, which means that we have to run a tight ship, don't we, Dan?
Yes. Oh, yeah, absolutely. We have to run a tight ship. We have pre-recordings, we have lives, all kinds of different genres. Yes, it does have to run smoothly. And Trello and spreadsheets. That's how I do it.
And a lot of great hosts who bring fantastic content. I mean, it's really the hosts that drive this network.
Yes, especially all the hosts that we've had on today, even the ones that pre-recorded, they made special pre-recordings for today's marathon because they couldn't be live today. So none of those were pre-played shows from any other time. We made arrangements to do pre-recordings specific to air for the first time on today's marathon.
And along with being the behind-the-scenes woman when it comes to this podcast, Dana, you also have your own podcast. You are a voice actress.
Yes.
And Dana Does Voices has been your baby for quite a while. Why Dana Does Voices? Why did you choose that as the platform?
I thought the name flowed. I love to write comedy scripts. And I'd like to do, I was in a hobby group where I would help write comedy scripts and different people would do the different characters. Well, I don't have the hobby group anymore. I'm on my own. So I'm doing all of the voices myself. And I really enjoy it. I love to do different accents, different characters. I have I don't think you're going to hear them today. I'm going to do my shorter script today to keep us on track. So it's just a random Christmas one I was going to do. But I have several recurring characters who have their specific voices. Rory is my teddy bear. You'll hear Rory in some of my podcasts. And sometimes I talk to Santa, and he's in today's script, Santa. And of course, Kool-Aid Man. You love that series.
I do love Kool-Aid. Yeah.
Kool-Aid. Oh, yeah. Kool-Aid Man. He's, I have to write the next one for him. I'm looking forward to that. And sometimes these things, they'll just come to me, and I'll sit and crank them out. And I have a lot of fun with it. So I just thought the name Dana Does Voices flowed. I think it flows. I don't do impressions or anything, but I do accents and different voices.
And it's so much fun. And I'm going to go ahead and exit Dana so that you can present Dana Does Voices here at the 4th annual New Year's Marathon here at prconnectionsradio.com. See you soon, Dana.
Thank you, Guy. Welcome to Dana Does Voices. We're on the New Year's Day Marathon for 2026. Unbelievable. I'm going to keep my episode short today for Dana Does Voices. And I'm reading one script, but there are 5 characters, so hopefully you'll be able to distinguish who's who. It's a pretty short script, and it's called Twinkle, the Christmas Fairy. It was Christmas Eve at Marty's, and the 10-year-old was putting out cookies and milk for Santa. Do you think one cookie is enough, Mom? Does Santa like chocolate chip cookies? Do you think we should leave chocolate chip and milk instead of regular? Marty was excited. He didn't like chocolate chip cookies, but he loved chocolate milk. And what about carrots for the reindeer? This'll be great, sweetie, answered his mom, who loved chocolate chip cookies and not really chocolate milk, and she knew she'd be tasting Marty's offering later. And I wouldn't worry about the carrots, sweetie. Okay, Mom. Marty was excited for Christmas morning, causing him to be much more energetic than usual. Time for bed, sweetie. His mom tried to get Marty away from the fireplace and upstairs to bed. Aw, Mom, Marty complained. He really was too full of energy. The Christmas tree fairy, Twinkle, was watching from the Christmas tree next to the fireplace near the plate of cookies and milk. Her job was to ensure that the coast was clear so Santa could arrive and do his thing without any of the kids of the house discovering him. I wonder if I'll need to step in to make Marty sleepy, she whispered to herself. Mom said, You know Santa won't come if you're not sleeping, Marty. Let's go. Okay, Mom, and reluctantly followed his mom upstairs. Marty didn't want Santa to skip his house just because he couldn't get to sleep, so he went through the motions and allowed Mom to put him to bed. Well, it took a while, but Marty was finally ready for bed and tucked away under his blankets, pretending to sleep. Becky, Marty's mom, called for Keith, Marty's dad, and they quickly set about putting the rest of their gifts from, quote, quote, Santa under the tree. Little did they know how unnecessary that was. They didn't believe anymore. Twinkle, the Christmas tree fairy, watched quietly, chuckling to herself and occasionally checking her tracking watch for the location of the true Santa. Marty's deep belief in the man in red ensured that his house was on the itinerary for Christmas Eve. Twinkle smiled to herself. She couldn't wait to see their reactions the next day when they saw additional, quote, quote, Santa gifts under the tree. Finally, close to midnight, and after taking a bite out of the cookie and drinking some of the milk, Becky and Keith went to bed. All clear, Twinkle whispered into her watch. Roger, Roger, Dinkle the elf in the sleigh with Santa replied. That was the sign they were waiting for. Santa aimed the reindeer for Marty's roof and quickly clumped down with a jingle of the bells. Of course, Marty, not being asleep but only pretending, heard the jingle. Unfortunately for Santa, Marty's 3rd floor window looked out on that part of the rooftop where Santa had to land near the fireplace. Marty peeked out of the window, trying not to be seen, but Dinkle had sharp eyes and saw Marty watching as Twinkle flew up out of the fireplace and landed on the front of the sleigh to talk to Santa. He's asleep, she said. It's all ready for you, Mr. Kringle. Dinkle pointed at the window and said, No, he's not. Look. Marty's shocked yet excited expression told the team all they needed to know. He'd seen everything. I'll handle this, said Twinkle. I'm their Christmas tree fairy. She flew to Marty's window, opening it with magic as she approached. Marty had been leaning against it and fell out onto the roof into the snow. As Marty started shivering with cold, Twinkle froze him. Not like an icicle, but frozen so he wouldn't move, and using magic again, put him to sleep and back to bed. Okay, Santa, he's really asleep this time. Let's get this done. And she smiled as he prepared his bag. Santa time, boomed Santa and slid down the chimney. He quickly set up the rest of the gifts for the family, smiled to himself and to Twinkle, who was settling herself back into the Christmas tree to wait for the family's reactions. She would report back to Santa after Christmas Day. Twinkle loved her job as a Christmas tree fairy for just this reason. The next morning, she watched as Marty raced downstairs, followed by Keith and Becky. Marty didn't remember being frozen on the rooftop or seeing Twinkle or Santa, but he had a vague memory of a big sleigh thing and maybe some reindeer-looking things in front of it. He told his parents as they looked at all the new goodies left by Santa. They were shocked, pleasantly, by the wonderful things that said, "From Santa." His parents believed Marty because there were the presents under the tree, labeled by Santa, and they hadn't put them there. Twinkle laughed and watched the Christmas Day fun. She really did love her job, and she couldn't wait until next year when she would do it all again. That's today's script for Dana Does Voices. We're cutting this short and only doing one. Thank you for watching the marathon, tuning into Dana Does Voices. Watch more episodes of this show and our other shows at prconnectionsradio.com. Happy New Year, everyone.
All right. Happy New Year, Dana. Thank you for giving us a little taste of your skills as a voice actor. And again, I just can't tell you how much we appreciate all the hard work that you invest in this network. And the best is yet to come. We've got a lot of big goals in the new year. We get a lot more into the in-person aspect of PR Connections Radio, which we've been gradually building on over the last couple of years. And we'll, along with, of course, maintaining our regular shows here on the network.
Keeping the shows we have, bringing in more. I'm excited. I know some of the ones that we have ideas for. I can't wait until we have a podcast that will display that genre. I really can't. I'm really excited.
Yes, well, we know you are going to be behind the wheel, behind the scenes, and continuing to guide us as a network. So then again, Dana, we greatly appreciate you.
Awesome. Thank you, Guy. Happy.
We are going to head into our last podcast of the day, which is another one of the cornerstone podcasts of the network. It is called Vegas Hockey Hub, and it is brought to you by Ian Rakelli. Ian and I have known each other for quite a few years. He is a nut. I mean, a nut when it comes to his fandom of hockey. And it's just been another wonderful experience to watch a young broadcaster evolve and grow. And he's covering a topic that is so relevant with us having this phenomenal hockey team here in Las Vegas. He also covers a lot of other Vegas-oriented hockey teams. And so without further ado, please welcome Ian Rakelli with Vegas Hockey Hub.
Hey, do you want to talk about the Vegas Golden Knights? More importantly, do you want to talk about the roster for the Vegas Golden Knights as the 2025-2026 season? Well, we're going to be doing that here on this episode of Vegas Hockey Hub. I'm your host, Ian Rakelli, and this is Season 4 of Vegas Hockey Hub, and I am looking forward to discussing all of the important players on this team and talking about the important details about this organization and the roster itself on this episode of Vegas Hockey Hub. And this is going to be a real fun episode, and we're going to be breaking down everything, including the Vegas Golden Knights roster, and we'll be doing all of that after this quick message.
PR Connections Radio presents this episode of the PR Connections podcast is brought to you by Classy Communications PR and Advertising. Classy Communications provides public relations and marketing solutions for businesses, professionals, and nonprofit organizations. They can deliver the true meaning of your business with press releases, social media marketing, web development, email marketing, book publishing, and much more. Wherever your potential clients are, they can help you connect with them. Visit classycommunications.net to learn more about their suite of services that can help your business stand out from the rest. Classy Communications is your solution for business success.
Now, the way this episode is going to be done and how the process is going to be with this episode, breaking down the Vegas Golden Knights roster, is that we will start with the forwards first, then we will go to defensemen, and then we will go with the goaltending last, as we are breaking down the Vegas Golden Knights roster and talking about all of this on this episode. But we will start out with the forwards, and we will talk about the most important forward on this team, and we'll be doing all of that here on this episode of Vegas Hockey Hub. Now, when it comes to Jack Eichel, the guy who has really been the Golden Knights team MVP almost every time he has been on the ice for Vegas since they acquired him from Buffalo all those years ago. And there is no doubt in anybody's mind that when you are considering players who are over a point per game, Jack Eichel is one of the first players that come to mind. When it comes to the entire NHL itself, and you're naming the top 10, top 15, top 20 players in the league, Jack Eichel is going to be on that list. There are going to be Vegas Golden Knights fans who are going to try to convince you he's a top 10 player in the league. Analytically, you can make an argument there because of how impactful Jack Eichel is on the ice. This is somebody who has been averaging over a point per game, pretty much the last 2 seasons that the Vegas Golden Knights have had Jack Eichel. This is someone who, he can give you 90 to 100 points every single season when he plays an entire campaign. Now, the only question mark about Jack Eichel, the only negative about Jack Eichel throughout his tenure during the NHL is his injury concerns. It's him missing time in the NHL. Now, last year, he only missed select few games. He had 94 points on the year. Could have broken 100 if he played all 82. But yes, he did miss even a couple of games last year, but that was one of the most healthy seasons that Jack Eichel had. This year, let's say that Jack Eichel does what Jack Eichel did a few years back. He misses stretches of time. That could be a possibility. With Jack Eichel, he will still be over a point per game. He could possibly still be the franchise leader in points and in assists at year's end despite missing time. That's a possibility. But with Jack Eichel, do I expect him to have over 90 points? The answer is it depends on how many games Jack Eichel plays. If Jack Eichel plays over 60 games, it's plausible to see him be a guy who's still averaging over a point per game into 1.5 point per game territory with Jack Eichel. But it just depends on how many games he plays, because that has been the main critique. The main negative against Jack Eichel is that he does miss time. He does suffer injuries. He did that in Buffalo, and he has done that in Vegas as well. But when Jack Eichel is on the ice, you have no doubt about it. He'll get you some goals. He's going to get you a bunch of assists, but he will be one of, if not the team MVP for the Vegas Golden Knights. But the only person that could beat him in that category when it comes to assists, the only person who could beat Jack Eichel when it comes to the points column would be this guy right here. And Vegas Golden Knights fans are getting real acquainted with this player that's coming up. The shiny new item the Vegas Golden Knights have acquired, the new jersey that is being picked up this season with Vegas Golden Knights fans, regardless if you're at the Armory or regardless if you are, at the Arsenal. When it comes to the Vegas Golden Knights, Mitch Marner was all the talk this offseason. Mitch Marner was a guy that's supposed to be a key impact player for the Vegas Golden Knights. This is somebody who spent his entire career in Toronto and then makes the big sign and trade with your Vegas Golden Knights. And it blew up the NHL. Toronto fans are still salty and butthurt about the fact that Mitch Marner is no longer a Toronto Maple Leaf. Well, hey, Toronto fans, too bad he's now in Vegas, so deal with it. But when it comes to Mitch Marner, he is another player similar to Jack Eichel, where he will get you a bunch of assists. I mean, keep in mind, Mitch Marner just came off a 100-point season with Toronto. Mitch Marner has been consistently averaging 80, 90, now 100 points when it comes to the Toronto Maple Leafs organization. Now he's coming over to Vegas, and he is going to be with Jack Eichel. He's going to be with players like Ivan Barbashev, and even if he's put on different lines, we've seen when it comes to guys like Tomas Hertl and Pavel Dorofeyev, how adjusted and how flexibility is when it comes to the Golden Knights and their lineup changes. Mitch Marner is going to fit very well into the Golden Knights organization. Do I think that he is going to get to 100 points in Vegas? Only if he has like 70 freaking assists. Okay? If Mitch Marner can get to like 80 assists, 75, 70, and Mitch Marner can get to 30 goals, and yeah, I'd say that he could probably get to 100 points with the Vegas Golden Knights. But realistically, I say that Mitch Marner, if he gets, let's say, 60 assists, okay? If Mitch Marner gets to like 60 assists and he gets around 20, 25 goals for Vegas, you know what? 85 points, that is nothing to scoff at, especially for a first-year guy with the Vegas Golden Knights. If he, let's just say, goes for a 25-70 or a 20-65, if you're going to be around that category, that is what is expected from Mitch Marner. That's the type of deal that Vegas signed to bring over Mitch Marner. So when it comes to Jack Eichel, when it comes to Mitch Marner, I mean, this is going to be your top two players and the most likely favorites to be MVP for the team, for the Vegas Golden Knights this year. Anybody who plays fantasy hockey, you would know that Mitch Marner and Jack Eichel are going to be among the top people selected from the Vegas Golden Knights in fantasy. But there is going to be one more person on that top line we do need to talk about, because this year could actually be a shining moment for this player, but it depends on how well he does in the first and second half of the year. And of course, I'm going to be talking about the other lines mate that's going to be with these guys. Now, Ivan Barbashev has been an interesting case for the Vegas Golden Knights because, yes, when he first got to Vegas, he helped them win a Stanley Cup championship. He helped the Vegas Golden Knights hoist Lord Stanley. And then after, that trade deadline acquisition, being one of the best trade deadline acquisitions the Vegas Golden Knights have ever had, he then signs an extension. He goes to Vegas being on that top line. And it's been mixed results with Ivan Barbashev. There's some first half great success Ivan Barbashev has had. And then there has been second half of the year where he turns into a ghost and even gets delegated from being on the first line to being a middle six forward for Vegas. We even saw that come playoff time recently. So Ivan Barbashev is a very talented player. He's somebody that can get you at least 20 goals a year, very confidently in that assessment. Ivan Barbashev to 20 goals. But what's going to need to be asked of Ivan Barbashev, can you have a better production than Tomas Hertl? Can you have better production than Pavel Dorofeyev? Can you have better production than somebody like a Mark Stone as a captain? Because with Ivan Barbashev being on that first line, it's now expected that you're going to have two all-star top 20 caliber players on that same line. And for majority of the year, Ivan Barbashev is going to be counted on to help the Vegas Golden Knights pick up some very valuable pieces when it comes to the Golden Knights organization. And when it comes to scoring and production on the offensive end, Ivan Barbashev is going to be counted on there. So overall, when it comes to Ivan Barbashev, I look at him and I say, being on that first line, there is going to be some expectations that he is going to have to be counted on with the Vegas Golden Knights. And, first half, we've seen him do some success, but it's that second half with Ivan Barbashev that we really need to count on. Now, the next player for the Vegas Golden Knights, I really want to talk about this guy because he is very important to the Golden Knights organization. It is not often that we see a villain from a different team join an organization and the fan base essentially accepts that person right away. It's really uncommon for a main rival to then turn around and have one of his best seasons in his career despite his current age. But we have actually witnessed this past year with Tomas Hertl how great he can be on that top six with Vegas. We have seen Tomas Hertl be a 30-goal scorer in a single season with Vegas. I mean, he had arguably the most goals last year with the Vegas Golden Knights. Him and Pavel Dorofeyev were your top two goal scorers. Hey, what about this season? It's going to be rinse and repeat. Tomas Hertl, Pavel Dorofeyev. Those are going to be your two guys who are going to be counted on to score 30 goals for Vegas. It is actually going to be an embarrassment, actually very disappointment, if Tomas Hertl and Pavel Dorofeyev don't get to 30 goals on the year, because we know talent-wise they can do it. Tomas Hertl, as a power play quarterback, is one of the most essential power play unit members the Vegas Golden Knights have. You need him on that power play. So for Tomas Hertl, 30 goals on the year, that is what we are looking at with Hertl. And when it comes to his performance, he can score goals. He's not going to put up that much in assists, but the goal scoring is what matters with him. Now, a little bit of a liability on defense, but every Golden Knights fans already accepted that. We already know it. So overall, with Tomas Hertl, we just need him to keep scoring and scoring and scoring. And when it comes to scoring, a guy that could be, one of the most impactful members the Vegas Golden Knights have ever had, you can make an argument, is the best draft pick the Vegas Golden Knights have had that they've kept and actually made into a member of the Vegas Golden Knights. And we're going to be talking about Skorofeyev very soon, and let's talk about him right now. For a young player with the Vegas Golden Knights, for him to end up becoming the player he has been, it has been remarkable to see the rise of Pavel Dorofeyev. To go from underrated as a prospect, a top 5 prospect in the Golden Knights organization, then cracking the roster, being a part-time guy, and then finally earning a full-time situation and becoming a vital part of the middle six, then top 6 with the Vegas Golden Knights. Pavel Dorofeyev, and this is a contract year for him. Do not forget this. Next year, Pavel Dorofeyev, there's a chance when it comes to free agency, he's going to make as much money as you probably expect with Pavel Dorofeyev, with the amount of goals they scored last year and the dang amount of goals he's scoring this year. So for Pavel Dorofeyev, a 30-goal season, that's going to get you a nice payday this next offseason for Pavel Dorofeyev. And for all Vegas Golden Knights fans, you better hope that he stays with the Golden Knights, because you cannot lose an asset like him. And I've made this tweet before, and our tweet at Vegas Hockey Hub. Every goal Pavel Dorofeyev is going to make is just another money is going to go up with every single goal. And that's with Pavel Dorofeyev. But to really round this out, let's talk about that top 6 and really a member that I feel like a lot of people should be talking about, because it feels like he doesn't get talked about enough when it comes to the Vegas Golden Knights. Now, a veteran, a Stanley Cup champion, someone who has played well over 500 NHL games in his career, gets bought out from St. Louis, signs a deal with the Vegas Golden Knights, and contributed very nicely on the back end of last year. And, regression is something that does happen with veterans. It is the risk you take when it comes to bringing in a guy and signing him to a deal as someone who's in his 30s. But overall, with Brandon Saad, I look at him and go, if it doesn't work out and he does end up showing that regression this year, Brandon Saad could be replaced by a young guy. Brandon Saad could be, later on the back end of the season, especially in the second half, replaced with a guy like Trevor Connolly. In the second half, if he is starting to show that fatigue and really starting to show that he's gassed as a veteran in that second half, because look, when it comes to the first half, there's some times where if you're only scoring a couple of goals, you only have a couple of points on the year, they're going to make a change there. And overall, Brandon Saad, if it's a guy like Braden Bowman, or if it's a guy like Trevor Connolly, or if there's even a young player that's on that bottom, 6 that could earn its way into the top 6, that's something that Vegas is going to have to do. But Brandon Saad being part of that middle 6 for Vegas, and, talking about the middle 6 and veterans, there's a player that got brought back to the Golden Knights organization. He's a fan favorite, but there's something we do need to talk about when it comes to that fan favorite. Now, there are people who love William Karlsson. There are fan base people who are part of the Misfits that love the fact that William Karlsson has been with the Golden Knights this entire time. But overall, William Karlsson having injury concerns, him missing time with the Vegas Golden Knights due to injuries, it kind of makes you wonder what the future is long term. Because when I'm saying that people are happy that he's back, because this is a William Karlsson that's supposed to be a player that on that middle 6, he did play on the wing, at one point when it came to the Vegas Golden Knights during the playoffs. He was even not a center, but he was a wing. And there are people who are hoping that he can come back to that level he was not even 2 years ago when he cracked 30 goals on the year. But for William Karlsson, it's going to really depend on availability. And more importantly, with William Karlsson, you got to ask yourself the important question, and that question is, if he is a half-season player and you're making around $6 million, does Vegas move on from a misfit? Let's say that the Vegas Golden Knights, once again, you have a half a season of William Karlsson. He gets you maybe 10 goals on the year, around there. Is this something that you look at and go, can we keep him for the fan base, or do we make a decision and let him go? Because the line mate I'm about to talk about now, they did do that. But they brought him back. And when it comes to this line mate, this is a player that the Vegas Golden Knights, and I hate to say it, but he's a top 6, middle 6 guy, but he might be, one and done. He might be somebody they brought back to be with the organization, be back home in Vegas. But if he doesn't get like 15 goals, 20 goals on the year, if he's somebody who gets like 35 points at year's end, it might seem like the Riley Smith situation with the Vegas Golden Knights, despite how much people love him, despite the fact that he's one of my favorite players on the Vegas Golden Knights. You really got to sit there and ask yourself, when it comes to the veterans on the middle 6, guys like a Brandon Saad, guys like a Riley Smith, guys like a William Karlsson, if they do not exceed expectations, regardless if it's that first half or second half, this is going to be a decision where the Vegas Golden Knights have young talent. They have Trevor Connolly, like I said. They have Braden Bowman down in Henderson. This is, when it comes to Henderson Silver Knights, when you have all these players who are now going to be NHLers come soon, there's just a lot of questions need to be asked when it comes to Karlsson, Smith, and Saad. Obviously, I wish them the absolute best. But that middle 6, with all the veterans, there's going to be a lot of question marks there. And one of the biggest question marks actually has to do with the final guy I'm talking about. Because when it comes to this guy, we all know what he can do. We all understand what Mark Stone means to the team. We are all aware of the fact that he's the captain. That he is a guy who averages over a point per game. But we have seen last year, we have seen years before, that Mark Stone does not play a full 82 games. But let's say Mark Stone plays over 60 games. And he gets about 75 points. That is great for Vegas. But is he going to be a guy that is going to be a middle 6 forward or a top 6 forward for Vegas? Going to be a player that the Vegas Golden Knights organization is going to say, hey, he is our captain. he's going to score over 70 points a year, we could trust that. Or let's say that forbid he has an injury that actually causes him to lose more games than that. Does Mark Stone end up becoming a situation where the Vegas Golden Knights look at it and go, hey, Mark Stone defensively, one of the best two-way forwards in all hockey. As a captain, a leader in the locker room. But how many games is he going to miss this year? So that's really the question you got to ask of Mark Stone, is the availability side of it. Similar to William Karlsson, like I said before. Similar to even like a guy like Jack Eichel with his injury concerns throughout his career. So with the Vegas Golden Knights, this, situation with the veterans, that is a very important question you have to ask yourself when it comes to Vegas. Now, the next two players are going to be players that are having some underrated years with Vegas. They're guys who are in their, late 20s, but they do provide value to Vegas. So with Keane Kolesar, he is somebody who, had a dozen goals this past year. Keane Kolesar becoming more of a leader with the Vegas Golden Knights. When you're seeing him during warmups, when you're seeing him during the, when we're doing the pucks pre-game with the Vegas Golden Knights with Keane Kolesar, you're seeing him in the middle. He's actually dishing the puck to players, actually doing the warmups and everything. Keane Kolesar has been progressing at a good level for Vegas. Yes, he does bring physicality. Yes, Keane Kolesar can fight if he needs to step up for his teammates. But what the question mark's going to be with Keane Kolesar is, unless you are going to deem him as a fourth liner for his entire career, all right, if he is going to be a fourth liner for life, then it's going to be hard for you to look at Keane Kolesar and see his stats, whatever his stats are at year's end, and go, all right, let's say Kolesar gets 5 goals. I kind of would, be shocked by that, but still, let's say Kolesar gets 5 goals and he gets 15 assists. All right, 20 points for a fourth liner, that's okay. But if you're expecting more from that, that's something you got to ask yourself about. So Keane Kolesar, I like him. I think that he's good for the organization. But his statistics are going to be an interesting part of this year, depending on what you're asking for him. Brett Howden. I mean, this is a guy who had, a breakout year this past year. I mean, this is somebody who's going to get you about 15 goals a year with Brett Howden. But being on that fourth line, you kind of have to ask yourself, why is he on the fourth line? What is the reason why a guy like Brett Howden is on that bottom 6? Because with Brett Howden, we see that he does have talent. He can score goals. We've seen that in the past, year and a half. But with Brett Howden being on that bottom 6, I mean, we've seen him be a middle 6 at times. But overall, with Brett Howden being a bottom 6 forward, we've seen him on the fourth line. We've seen him on the third line. And that's what Brett Howden has been for majority of his tenure with the Knights, with a few exceptions. Overall, Brett Howden, I look at him and I go, this is going to be a player that, hopefully he does better, but it's going to be kind of hard to see him as anything more than just a middle 6, bottom 6 guy at best. Now, this is Colton Sissons, the guy they got from Nashville in the Nick Hague trade. And, he's going to bring some durability to the bottom 6. I really do not expect much from Colton Sissons, except, him being a guy that will try to play every single day. He's going to be a member of this organization that's going to try to be productive on that end. And then, when it comes to defense, this is going to be the interesting part of Vegas, because there's going to be some veterans that are not going to put up great numbers like a Braden McNabb, but he has played so many games for Vegas. He has been the lifer and the blood of the Vegas Golden Knights on defense. So Braden McNabb being with the organization, we have seen him with this organization for so long. It's kind of hard to see him not be with Vegas in the future, but it just all depends on what his stats are going to be this year, because, I mean, the fact is his stats have shown some form of regression over the past year and a half. But I think from a locker room perspective, you're going to keep him on the organization itself. But, when it comes to guys who are going to be part of this organization for the long-term future, I mean, this is a guy that Vegas is going to count on heavily this year in Shea Theodore. Now, injury concerns, we have seen injury concerns affect Shea Theodore for the past year. Shea Theodore, if he stays healthy, we know what he can do. But, I mean, he has had injury problems. I mean, we saw during the Four Nations face-off, this past year that he got hurt there. He had to miss time. We have seen him get into situations where he gets hurt in a game and comes out. So for Shea Theodore, that's the situation there. I also do say when it comes to one player that cannot regress this year, but I'm hoping that he doesn't, and that is Zach Whitecloud. I mean, Zach Whitecloud has shown potential. He has shown upside, but there's also been some times where he has had a rough stretch of 10, 15 games where Zach Whitecloud is just not it with the Vegas Golden Knights. We have seen that in the past. Defensively, speaking of somebody that's going to have to step up for this team and somebody that I'm looking forward to seeing him do well is Noah Hannafin. I mean, after all, this is a guy they traded a first-round pick for. And Noah Hannafin, I like what he has done defensively. He is someone who can be a top 25 defenseman in the NHL. But for Noah Hannafin, really the main answer and the main question you got to ask yourself is that if you're Noah Hannafin, can you be the 1A, 1B defenseman alongside Shea Theodore? Or is this going to be a situation where you're going to have to count on him to be that number one and for Theodore to be number two? Or vice versa. Theodore will be number one and Hannafin will be number two. Now, this guy is a new member of the Vegas Golden Knights for this season. Jeremy Lauzon, a former, Seattle Kraken, former Nashville Predator. I mean, this is someone who's going to bring a big body, someone who's very physical, racks up a bunch of penalty minutes. Now, I will be very shocked if he has more than 10 points this year because point scoring is really not in his repertoire when it comes to the Vegas Golden Knights. But Jeremy Lauzon, I see him and I go, okay. Jeremy Lauzon, he is somebody that if there's going to be a fight, it's going to be him or it's going to be Kolazar. When it comes to a big play and there's going to be a big hit, it's going to be Lauzon. And then I'm happy to see him in the lineup. And this is going to be number 6, Caden Korczak. I hope him the absolute best. And overall, Caden Korczak, I say that him doing his first full-time season with Vegas, I wish him the absolute best. Now, when it comes to the goaltending situation, I'm not even going to sit here and try to pretend that this is going to be a situation where this is going to be great for Vegas or it's going to be bad for Vegas. I look at this and say, you see the goalies right here. You see them on the screen. If you think that they are going to be some of the best goalies in the NHL, that's your opinion. If you think that they are underwhelming and below average, that's your opinion. If you're looking at this and saying the Vegas Golden Knights are going to have an issue at goaltender, well, that is your opinion. I'm leaving this up to you because from a goaltending perspective, this is so difficult to even chart when it comes to the Vegas Golden Knights. So just want to talk about the roster real quick here on Vegas Hockey Hub. I'm your host, Ian Rakelli. And until next time, have a good one and go Knights go.
PR Connections Radio thanks you for watching this podcast. Check out more episodes of this show and our others at prconnectionsradio.com.
It helps when I actually unmute myself and you can hear me. That wraps it up for our marathon. I hope you enjoyed all of the different podcasts that we aired today, and we're looking forward to getting together with you again come May, because we will be having the Memorial Day weekend marathon. And again, continue to tune into the podcast over on our website, prconnectionsradio.com. As I mentioned before, we've got the QR code that is up on the screen. If you'd like to go directly to the website, please take advantage of the opportunity to do so. We appreciate your continued support of our network. There are great opportunities for those of you out there who might be interested in becoming podcasters in 2026. Having your own podcast on our network is a possibility. For more information about how to potentially be a podcaster on our network, please reach out to us at info@prconnectionsradio.com. We are also seeking sponsors for our network. Our reach is growing and growing in leaps and bounds, and we have many, many opportunities for you to promote your business or your organization on our network at very reasonable prices. Again, for more information about how to be a sponsor of the PR Connections Radio Network, please connect with me at info@prconnectionsradio.com. I hope you have a happy New Year. Enjoy your holiday, and we will see you soon. Again, keep tuning into podcasts at prconnectionsradio.com and also listening to our podcasts on a variety of audio streaming platforms such as Amazon Music, Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and much more. See you soon.
PR Connections Radio thanks you for watching this podcast. Check out more episodes of this show and our others at prconnectionsradio.com.